that were coming for him. Yet we're allowing these people out onto the streets, and we wonder why there's an exodus going out of New York and out of San Francisco and Los Angeles. It is primarily due to crime. It's due to the drug use that we see in the open air. I took a walk up to Central Park yesterday, had some time to kill. I could not escape the smell of weed everywhere. And it's just, New York is not what it used to be. And this mayor can talk a big game, start to do something about it, sir, because you're going to lose all that tax revenue as people move more and more to places like Florida, to Kentucky, to Idaho.
The weed smoke. I can't escape the weed smoke, even though I'm outside, literally. Oh, wait. Okay, look, I know cannabis smells, okay. And look, I'll be honest, I don't exactly love the smell, okay. I've never smoked pot in my life. I don't plan to. But I'm also very pro legalizing cannabis. And so, but this guy says, well, I went up to Central Park one day, recently, and I couldn't escape the weed smoke. It's everywhere. You have to be really close to someone in order to smell the smoke. All right. So maybe, I don't know, you should not stand so close to people. What are you trying to get, a contact high or something? I don't know. It's sort of like the comic when you, with that entire room of urinals with one person in it, and the other person walks in and comes right up next to you. Only in this point, it's Joe Concha complaining about how loud you're peeing. So that's who this guy is. Now, interestingly enough, there's a host there, Dagan McDowell. So now she actually pushed back. And here's what she said, quote, "It's not the smell of marijuana that is the problem." Ooh, okay, good. "It is the fact that there was a gunfight in my neighborhood before I was coming to work last week." So, it started good, then it went stupid, because I absolutely call BS on that last part. Dagan McDowell is estimated to be worth about $5 million. Her husband, separately, $5 million. Speaking of her husband, he works on Wall Street and writes articles for right-wing outlets, including Fox Business. She also makes about $350,000 a year working at Fox News. And so she's not living anywhere except for in a gated community. I highly doubt that she sees any gunfights on the regular. I would be very, very surprised. I know there's been an increase in crime in New York City, as we've seen in a lot of places. It's actually not as bad as it was in the 80s. There was far more crime, but there has been an uptick, of course, coronavirus. And so I'm not saying it doesn't exist in New York City or in big cities, but in reality, a lot of big cities are actually really safe as well. And I'm also not saying that the crime isn't a concern. No, it very much is a concern. So I agree with the point where she makes, where it's not really an issue when it comes to the pot. But again, I also disagree with weirdos like Joe Concha. What he's doing is reefer madness 2.0. And that is, and I've discussed this before, how they're trying to tie legal cannabis, people using marijuana, to violent criminals. But there's no correlation to that. Doing marijuana or smoking a joint, whatever, that does not make people more violent. That does not create violence. Not the same things. And look, if you don't like the smell, like I do, that's fine. I don't like it, so I move on. I go somewhere else. Okay? And that's it. That's what you have to do.
Bitch, move it along.
Oh, right. I'm out. I don't like the smell. I go somewhere else. That's fine. Again, I don't try to criminalize people for doing something that basically harms no one else. And understand that this is what people like Joe Concha want. There is a string of they're regressives, really, that are obsessed with controlling what other people do, controlling their lives, controlling what you do, wanting to tell you what to do. And if you don't follow what they want, how, they want you to live your life, then they want you thrown in prison. That is anti-freedom. Again, not conservatives, regressives. Okay? That's who they are. Now, I don't think people who do nonviolent offenses and victimless crimes should have to be subject to bail. I mean, that's effectively what it is, a tax on poor people. Now, if you're violent and you do violent assault, armed robbery, that's a bit different. And so, yeah, I do clash a little bit with some of the looser restrictions by some of the DAs in big cities like New York City. I would like violent criminals to be separated out for the people's safety. But nonviolent criminals, I think, should be fine. Because, again, their crimes are victimless nonviolence, especially when it comes to possession, right? Now, I think the justice system should also be able to make a determination whether or not to allow people to be able to go back in the street to await trial. I want to get rid of mandatory minimums. I want to let judges be judges and actually, do their job. Now, he also criticizes Eric Adams. Eric Adams is much more conservative than I would like. He's deeply conservative on policing. He was a former cop. And what he's doing, he's going out there and saying basically the same things that these Fox News people are saying. Oh, but he talks a big game, but he doesn't do anything. Well, he's not dictator of New York. So I'm not exactly entirely sure what he can do. But I do know that one of his policy positions is trying to undo the bail reform that these guys are complaining about. But look, it doesn't matter to them. Okay? When it comes to Fox News, the fact that Eric Adams calls himself a Democrat automatically makes him, in their minds, the worst person imaginable. Even though on the left, we're very critical of Eric Adams being too conservative, especially on issues of policing and reform. We do need policing reform. We do need criminal justice reform. We do need, of course, the rescheduling of marijuana from the schedule. Just remove it from the scheduled list altogether, decriminalize it, legalize it. We do need those things, and we need a massive change in the rest of our drug laws as well. But, again, when it comes to Fox News, they're not really interested in that. They're not really interested in freedom. They're not really interested in the science here. And all they want to do is try to control people's lives. And, of course, help private prison corporations.